Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show here on iHeartRadio, powered by Podbean. It's time for the NBA playoffs. Going to take place today, and oh my goodness, go for the next, 2 months, maybe 2.5 months, one of the longest playoff runs in all of sports. But anyway, I am joined today by my co-host. You know there's no way I was going to do this show by myself, right? Please welcome to the show from Ballys Sports Southeast. He covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets, Dustin Phifer. What's up, Dustin?
Hey, what's going on, Gene? How are you today?
Hey, man, I know, and Sid, I know I wanted to call you when the Hornets played the other night. I know it was a tough one for you.
Yeah, that's a tough way to go out, and honestly, that's 2 years in a row that they've went out like that, and I know the team had higher expectations than that, so it's going to be a big offseason for the Hornets to try to get right going into year 3 of LaMelo Ball, him turning 21 years old. So I think this is going to be the offseason where they really need to figure out what they want to do to really take a big step next year in year 3 with LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, the Hornets are in a pretty good position because, man, this guy, bringing him to the team added so much value to the team. And, of course, with the Hayward injury, what was up with Gordon Hayward? What exactly happened to him?
Yeah, it's just one of those things, and I think the Hornets kind of knew the risk when they signed him. But as you know, it's kind of as considered kind of a small market team, you got to take chances when you can try to get some players in there. So they took a chance on signing Gordon Hayward as a free agent, and when he's played, he's been really good. But as we know, in Boston and now in Charlotte, he's had some injury issues, and he had a really almost like a bad high ankle sprain. It was really bad. So a player fell on top of it, and he was out for a while. He tried to come back and play one game, and then had a lot of foot soreness, and he just couldn't make it back. So I think going in, he's been here 2 years now, going into year 3. He's valuable when he's on the floor, but when you're paying a guy $30 million, he needs to be on the floor.
That's
so I
a
think
lot.
that's going to be one thing they look at to see maybe if they can try to move him and get that contract off the books this offseason.
Yeah, because it was definitely a head-shaking signing and contract there. But anyway, tell you what, Dustin, well, hey, the play-in tournaments are done, thank goodness, and now we know exactly who the 16 teams are going to be in the NBA playoffs. And today, me and Dustin will go over the first round of the NBA playoffs. We will predict who our first round winners are going to be. And because this thing is just so long here, there's no way. We're not going to be stupid and predict. We're not going to pull a Charles Barkley right here on the show and just go all the way. So first round only. We'll come back over the next weeks here as these series move forward. But let's just talk about the play-ins last night there. So we had the Hawks and the Cavaliers. The Hawks get the win over the Cavaliers. Man, and Cleveland just looked like they came out and fired up and home cooking there. But, man, and I was sitting here watching the game with my son, and I said, okay, watch out for Trae Young in that fourth quarter. And, boy, they lit it up and got that win 107-101.
Yeah, what an impressive win that was. And like you said, the Cavs got Jared Allen back. That brought some energy to them. The crowd was going crazy. And I tell you what, the way they come out with Markkanen hitting threes and Garland, and I mean, they just had everybody chipping in, and it kind of seemed like it was going to be their night. And let's remember, when they were healthy, they were a top 4 or 5 team in the season before they started having injuries. So it looked like they had it, but that's where you gotta, I guess, lean on the experience of Trae Young and the Hawks, a team that made the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they just knew how to get it done in big situations and on the road. And you say what you want about Trae Young, whether he's a great player in the league. Sometimes he's a volume shooter, but he is clutch when it comes to the fourth quarter. And they lost Clint Capella in that game, and Trae Young just took over to lead his team to a win.
Yeah. I tell you what, and not only is Trae Young good, he knows he's good, and man, he just has a way of sticking it to the crowd.
He does. He has that way, and I'll tell you what. One thing that impressed me with him in going back to the Charlotte game was that Charlotte really made a point to try to trap him and get the ball out of his hands. And even though he's a great scorer, he knows when to make the right play and can rack up the assist to getting his teammates involved.
A true point guard, man, to the definition. Because and when you look at all those points that he scored, you're thinking like, man, he just really put the ball up a lot. No, he didn't. He basically was scoreless in the first half.
Yeah.
And all of his damage was done in the second half, but it was a remarkable win. So and Atlanta got the 8th seed as a result of that in the Eastern Conference. And man, Dustin, to be honest with you, I did not want to see Nate McMillan get fired if they lost that game last night.
Yeah, absolutely not. What he's done with this team to take over the middle of the season last year, take them to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, this year's been up and down. You go to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, you expect to be better than the 8th spot. But Nate McMillan and his credibility deserves to make it through even a rough season, and no way he should be let go as that coach.
Yeah.
So good to see him get that win.
Absolutely, especially after getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. So over in the Western Conference, the last game there for the 8th seed was the New Orleans Pelicans and the Los Angeles Clippers. And, man, the Clippers got a devastating blow in their lineup when it was announced that Paul George wasn't going to play. And, Dustin, I don't know about you, but, man, I didn't see how they would win that game without a Paul George.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I'll tell you what, you talk about the Clippers, Gene, and I mean, that's a situation that they got to figure out going forward. When you have 2 stars in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, both who can't stay on the floor, you're paying all that money in LA to try to be one of these top big market teams, and you really don't have your 2 stars the whole year. And Paul George comes back, you think the Clippers got something rolling, and then he's out with health and safety protocols, and we don't know the details of that situation or what happened. But I tell you what, I mean, I give Ty Lue all the credit in the world that he even had his team in that situation with Kawhi Leonard not playing the entire season. And they made a run at it, Gene. I was surprised.
They really did.
New Orleans blitzed them early, and then Reggie Jackson really tried to take over the game. So, but big credit to the Pelicans, who's a young team, to get down on the road like that. They were down 10 going to the fourth quarter. And they battled back to get that win. And Willie Green, talk about our first-year head coach. What a job he's done this year. They started 1-12, Gene, and now they're going to be in the playoffs.
Amazing. Now, amazing. And I'm not going to take any credit away from them. I know they got a tough road ahead here, but at the same time, you're right. And I guess, Dustin, as much as I don't want to admit it, and I probably never will, that I do not like the play-in tournament, but it's because of the play-in tournament, it gives teams like this a chance. And you're talking about a team that was almost at the bottom of the cellar gets a chance to get in now. And I mean, I think that's what it was designed for.
It's exactly what it was designed for. You have a team start 1-12 like that, and they see that they're so far behind that 8th spot. They're really not going to try to go for it. They're gonna give up. They're going to tank, and that's not what the league wants to see. Fans don't come out to see teams tank.
Yeah.
They come out to see good, entertaining basketball. But the Pelicans knew even at 1-12 that all they had to do was get to that 10th spot, and they had a chance. And what do? They go out and make a move to get C.J. McCollum. They get their guys back healthy. Obviously, they don't have Zion, but they were able to make a run and get into that 10th spot, and then all it takes is 2 wins and you're in. And I'll tell you what, that's a dangerous team going forward. The Suns are obviously the best team in the league.
Right.
That's some young talent with McCollum and Brandon Ingram. And one caveat, I have to talk about this for the Hornets, Gene. What that win did for the Pelicans last night was actually gave their first-round pick to the Hornets. So now the Hornets have 2 first-round picks going into this year's draft because of the Pelicans making the playoffs. It was like top 15 protected. Now the Hornets will get that pick for the Devontae Graham trade. So the Hornets will have some assets to make some moves this offseason, get that extra first-round pick.
Well, I think the Hornets and the Pelicans should just thank the Lakers. Send the Lakers a thank you note because they made it all possible.
That's right. That's right. I think the Lakers. I think everybody. You would have to admit that most teams in the league are probably enjoying the misery.
Oh, I'm sure, and I'm not. But you know what? I tell you, I have, went on a tantrum talking about the Lakers, so I'm not even going to do that. But I just know that the Pelicans are definitely sending them a thank you note, and it sounds like the Hornets are going to do it too. But anyway, the Pelicans are in, and now we are all set. We have the Eastern and the Western Conference playoff matchup set, and we are going to start, Dustin, with the East. And let's go ahead and start with this first matchup. I'll tell you what, the Hawks, I thought the game was going to go into overtime last night, and I'm like, man, these guys don't want that because, hey, they got to turn around and play Sunday on the road here. So our first matchup here, let's go with the 1 and the 8 there. We got the Miami Heat the number one seed. They maintained that. It looked shaky there at the end, but they solidified that number one spot there, and they will take on a good opponent in the Hawks. The Hawks could be, reaching their peak there. Maybe this play-in tournament has sparked them a little bit. Dustin, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a scary first-round matchup for a one seed. When you get a team who's the 8th seed, who went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, who has a star player in Trae Young, and has the playoff experience and has the playoff coach like Nathan Millen, this is a scary matchup. I think the big thing, and I haven't heard any updates after last night of Clint Capella and his knee. That'll definitely be a big factor to make sure he's healthy to go against Bam Adebayo down low. And I think this series is at least going to go 6 games. These are two teams who play in the same division. I think they split the season series, so these two teams know each other. They know how to play against each other. And I think it's going to go 6 games. I'm going to take the Heat just because I think they have the better depth. I think the starters, you can kind of go toe for toe, but when you get to that depth and you have Tyler Hero coming off the bench, you have Duncan Robinson coming off the bench sometimes. They just got veterans, championship experience, PJ Tucker, Jimmy Butler, and I think Eric Spoelstra's probably if not for Pop, he's probably the best coach in the NBA. So I'll take that experience, but I do think it could be a scary series if the Heat lose one of those early games, so they need to be careful. But I'll take the Heat to win in 6.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I'm going to take the Heat to win this series, but and it could be over before then, depending on this Clint Capella situation, because that was a very freakish type of an accident, and you just hate to see that. The way it happened, but man, they really would need him because they don't have Collins either, right? He's been out for some time. Am I correct?
Yeah, Collins has been out for a little bit. I think he's getting closer to returning, but he had a hand injury and was also, I think, dealing with something with his ankle. So he kind of had 2 things going on. But yeah, if he comes back, he's been out so long, it's going to take a while to get him going. So they're kind of thin. They got a Kongwu, who's a second-year player, but he's very young. Capella is their inside guy who gets the lobs from Trae Young and rebounds the ball at a crazy clip. So they need him to have any chance in this series. Yeah,
they're going to need Herter and Bogdanovich to just really shoot lights out. And to do that for a series, that's highly impossible. Now, they did, they took the Milwaukee Bucks to the brink last year, but not having those extra parts that they had last year, it's just going to be a tough road. So I got the Miami Heat, and like you said about Spoelstra, man, this team's got experience, and they are deep too. You look at PJ Tucker, who will certainly be able to be a good scout for the Miami Heat. Just playing the Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so I think they got an advantage there, Dustin.
Yeah, they definitely do. When you have that, the championship experience, you talk about PJ Tucker, and then let's not forget about the addition of Kyle Lowry in the championship experience.
Oh,
Having a guy running the point like that, where it kind of takes the pressure off Jimmy Butler ball handling, takes the pressure off, these guys having to have the ball in their hands all the time. He can be that leader on the floor. And so when you have Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Adebayo, PJ Tucker, that's just the experience you need. So that's why they got that 1 seed, and they're looking to make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely right. So I'm going to agree with the 6 in 6. I was going to almost say a sweep, but there's no way. Trae Young is good for a game or 2, right, by himself anyway.
He's good for a game or 2, and Atlanta's very good at home. So I think they can get maybe 1 or 2 in front of their home crowd.
All right, so that series kicks off on Sunday. So let's go look at the next matchup there in the first round of the Eastern Conference. That's going to be the number 2 seed Boston Celtics versus the number 7 seed Brooklyn Nets. You're talking about a tough series to pick here, because you have to respect that number 2 seed, man. I know all the hype with the Nets, but you have to respect. I don't care. And it's the Boston Celtics who were beating teams by an average of 25 points there for a couple of weeks ago.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what, Gene. We talked about doing the East first. This Eastern Conference, all of these series are just wide open and close. And this Brooklyn-Boston series is going to be the series that I'll have my eye on. We just talked about the Atlanta Hawks being an 8 seed, went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Now you got a Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving team as a 7 seed. I mean, that is scary. So this series is going to be crazy good. I think it's going 7 games. I'll go ahead and say that right off the bat. And I'll tell you what, Gina, we might disagree on this, but I have kind of not been as high on the Brooklyn Nets as most people have. I know when you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you got a chance to win it all regardless. But I just don't think that this team plays enough defense in the playoffs to get the stops that is needed. And on the flip side, you're looking at a Boston team that probably has the best defense in the NBA. So, it's going to be interesting to see if Ben Simmons comes back. We hear all that talk about him. I heard some rumors that he may try to come back in game 4, 5, or 6. And obviously he'll provide a spark on defense. We know his offense is limited, but he's a very good defensive player. But I'm going to take the Boston Celtics in 7 because they have the home court.
Yeah, they do.
And I know most people are probably going to take the Nets because they're going to roll with Kevin Durant. But I've just watched this team a lot this year, and I just don't think they have the defensive makeup or the depth to really withstand a team like Boston. If they were playing somebody else, maybe. But I just think Boston's going to win in 7.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it makes it to a game 7, I would have to agree because there's no way you're going to beat the Celtics in a game 7. That's been proven through history, trying to win a game 7 in Boston. But I'm going to look at it a little differently here because I tell you what, now I know Kyrie and look, we just saw Kyrie and Kevin Durant put up almost 60-something points between the two of them. And it was just tough, it was just a tough for them. And they don't always win when those two guys play well. But what I will say is that I don't know if Steve Nash is going to have the luxury of waiting to a game 4 or 5 or 6 to put in
exactly
the Ben Simmons. I think because we haven't seen Ben Simmons. He's been on the floor. We haven't seen, we don't know what happens in practice. I got to think that he's going at it full force there. But there is no way that the Brooklyn Nets win this series without a Ben Simmons. And I just think he's going to be the X factor. And I'm gonna take the Nets. I'm gonna take the Nets. I know, and I respect these Celtics, man, because you don't know who's going to get you. Now, the one reason why I would take the Nets is because I don't know the situation. I don't have the latest update on Robert Williams because he went down. That's a big plus for. I know Horford is a veteran, but I think they really gonna need Williams too if they're gonna win this series.
Yeah, Robert Williams is a big factor, and I'll have to check his injury a bit to see how close he is to coming back. I think it's sooner rather than later, so that would be big. But the thing about that's the thing, Gene. We're talking about Ben Simmons being an X factor, but let's not forget this guy has not played basketball in a whole year.
Yeah,
and we saw how he went out in that Philadelphia series, and yes, he can push the pace. Yes, he can pass the ball and get some people open, and yes, he's a very good defender. But if he comes back, I'm only looking at 15, 20 minutes a game max, I would think, for him. Trying to come back after a whole year off. And I just think you have guys like Marcus Smart who can try to defend Kyrie Irving. And then if without Simmons, who on the Brooklyn Nets is going to defend the combo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? So I like those two. I love the way Tatum's playing, and I like Boston's defense to get enough stops to win the series.
I tell you what, that's another game that's going to take place on Sundays. For the next 2 days, we got 8 games, 8 NBA playoff games. And I know, Dustin, you got your room set up there now. The good thing about the NBA playoffs is we get to see one game at a time. So I guess, I had baseball on my other 2 TVs. So
I'll have the Braves on and maybe some golf, something. I'll have it mixed up.
Yeah, you got to have a little mixture there. All right, the next matchup we got, boy, it gets better, Dustin. I know exactly what you're talking about here. It's the defending NBA champions, Milwaukee Bucks, the number 3 seed in the East, taking on the number 6 seed, Chicago Bulls. And I'll let you start
Midwest
this
matchup.
one. Yeah, I'll let you start with this one.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting series rivalry wise when you talk about a Midwest matchup.
Yeah, 100. What are they? 160, 70 miles from each other?
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to be very interesting. But I'll tell you what, I think And I think the Bucks are being overlooked, Gina. And I know they're not necessarily being overlooked like a normal team would be. They're the defending champs, though, and all you hear about is, well, what's going to happen with James Harden and Joel Embiid? Well, what's going to happen with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant? Well, the Miami Heat are the number 1 seed. I think the Milwaukee Bucks are playing their best basketball. They're healthy. They got Brook Lopez back, and I think they are primed to make another run towards the finals. And I think this is going to be a very quick series. The Chicago Bulls started off like gangbusters as one of the top 2 or 3 seeds, but they fell off big time. And I have a stat here. Now, this was as of March 19th, Gene, so I'm not sure, or March 23rd, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So this is not, I'm not sure about the last couple of weeks, but as of March 23rd, Gene, the Bulls were 0-16 against the top 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference this season. So they just have not played well against the bigger talent in the East. And I think the Bucks are ready to roll. I think Giannis is ready to make another statement. And I'm telling you what, I'll give the Bulls 1 game because they have a raucous crowd, but I got the Bucks in 5 in the series.
Yeah, you everything you said was right on point because when you look at this, the Bulls struggled, man. I at one particular time because there was so much because they did so well early in the year, and there was so much separation between, that 6 and 7 spot there that they could have really just dropped, and could have been a play-in tournament team because they just really dropped. But when you lose, when you have those injuries, not having Lonzo Ball out there, and they just don't have enough. And I don't even know what happened with Aaron Gordon. So they just don't have enough. I guess Gordon's going to play, right?
So we're talking about Aaron Gordon. We're talking about for the Nuggets. So
No, not Gordon. I'm thinking about who's the other guy?
Caruso.
No, not Caruso. Not Caruso.
DeRozan.
No, not DeRozan. I thought they had another star player there.
So they've got that. That's my thing with them against the Bucks is they've got good guard play. They've got LaVine. They got DeRozan.
LaVine. That's who I'm thinking about. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
there you go.
So we'll have to check on. I think he's good to go from what I've seen.
Okay. Because they didn't have him down the stretch.
Yeah, he has been banged up, and they've got good guard play. But you got to remember the Bucks got Drew Holiday, who's one of the best defenders in the NBA. You got Middleton, so they've got the guard to match up with them. But you tell me who on the Bulls is going to guard Giannis. I mean,
no,
you've got
I know.
Vucevic, you've got a young player in Patrick Williams, and so there may be one game where DeRozan gets his and maybe wins in front of a Bulls crowd. But from top to bottom, that Bucks team is ready to go. I think it could be a sweep, but I'm going to go 5 games.
It could be because they picked up Serge Ibaka as well, and then they got and Lopez is back, so they are at full steam there. They have no injuries. Everything looks good. You still got Clinton Portis, who can strike at any time. No matter what the Bulls do, they're going to have an uphill battle. Yeah, LaVine is the one I was thinking about because him and Gordon, I get those guys mixed up all the time.
Yeah, but both athletic guys with the contest. I got you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but the one thing Gordon did, get the braids in his hair, so there's a distinguish there now. You can tell who's who. But anyway, I agree with you. I would say that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to, if not sweep, I would say in 5 games too. So we both like the Bucks to move on to the next round of the NBA playoffs. So now let's look at this 4-5 matchup here. You got the Philadelphia 76ers, the 4 seed, will take on the Toronto Raptors, the 5 seed. I tell you what, the Raptors at one particular time here late in the season, they were the hottest team over in the East.
They were one of the hottest teams in the East, and there was a point mid season that they were down there in 9th or 10th spot, and they just shot up to that 5th seed, and that was guys like Van Vliet, that was guys like Pascal Siakam, their rookie Scotty Barnes, and then of course they got a great head coach in Nick Nurse. So they just shot up there, and I'll tell you what, this is a series that if I'm a Sixers fan, I'm very nervous about, Gene, because everybody talked about this Harden trade and how they came out, they started hot. They were like 3-0 with Harden, and then it just hasn't been the same yet. It just doesn't seem like Harden's the same guy. He just doesn't seem as explosive. He's not shooting the ball as well. We know Joel Embiid's going to get his. He's an MVP candidate. Maybe the MVP is between him and Jokic in my eyes. But It's got to be Harden. It's got to be that X factor. Embiid's going to get his, but they need that Harden guy, not just to be a facilitator, but they need him to score the ball. And so this is a series where you've got long defenders like Siakam, Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby. I mean, they've got guys that they can put on people. So this is going to be a very interesting series. And another caveat, Gene, is that with the games being in Toronto, Matisse Thybulle, which is the Sixers' best defender, will not be able to play in those games in Toronto because he's not fully vaccinated. So this is going to be interesting. I don't think this is a series. I think it's going to go 7 games as well. I'm going to rely on the greatness of Joel Embiid. I think he's earned this. The way he carried this Sixers team through all this Ben Simmons mess.
That's true.
And now he's got Harden on his side. I think he's ready to have a big playoff moment. But I'll tell you what, one slip up, if they don't win, they better make sure they win these first 2 games at home before going to Toronto, because if not, they could be in trouble in this series.
How appropriate that this is the 4-5 matchup, just like, in the NCAA tournament, we talk about the 8-9 matchup. This is so balanced because any one of these teams could win. And you're right, not having Thybulle to be able to go up there and play in Toronto, and Toronto, look, Nick Nurse knows something about these championship games, man. No one expected them to be here. They were hot for a reason. And here's a little side note here. So interesting that both Doc Rivers and Nick Nurse are being mentioned as possible replacements to the Lakers as the head coach. So I could say whoever loses this series might be getting a job interview, and which would be interesting too. I couldn't, when I first heard that report, Dustin, I'm like, well, why would Doc Rivers want to leave, and why would Nick Nurse want to leave? But I could understand Nick Nurse wanting to take that coveted job, in a major market city. But anyway, back to this game, I think that Harden, to make all this work here, it's just got to work at something. It's got to work or else you out. And this is a dangerous team, and you already got a disadvantage with not having your top defender being able to play in these games. And thank goodness that Philly has the home court advantage there, so it shouldn't hurt them that much. But I agree. I got Philly winning the series, but man, this thing could go 7, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7.
And I'm gonna tell you what, Gene, if somehow this series goes south for Philadelphia and they don't win, you know how these Philly fans are. It's gonna be a bloodbath, and we saw what the Sixers had to trade to give up to get Harden. I mean, they mortgaged their future. It's really this year and next year that they really need to try to win a championship to pay off this James Harden trade, because if not, they've given up all their assets. So, and I'll tell you, I don't think there's any player. I think this is not even close. There's not any player that has more pressure in the playoffs than James Harden right now. Yeah,
you're right. And Doc Rivers got a lot of pressure, and Daryl Morey, who seems to be kind of locked in there, as a GM. Doc Rivers may not have a choice but to take that LA job.
You're right. I was gonna mention the pressure on Doc Rivers, because as good of a coach he is, we know he's one of the best in the league. He's won championships. The last few years in the playoffs have not been kind to his teams, and obviously it falls on players and coaches. But his last few years in the playoffs have been pretty bad.
It's been pretty bad.
And you were talking about Nurse and Rivers possibly being coaches. I honestly would have to give the edge to Nurse being the better coach right now, and the adjustments that he makes in game. So it's going to be interesting to see what Rivers can do. And I'll tell you what, like I said, this isn't Harden. You worked your way out of Houston. I know you had a lot of great years there. You made your way to Brooklyn, and then you forced your way out of Brooklyn. So this is on you to make this pay off. And those Sixers fans will not hold anybody back as far as what happens if they lose this series.
Yeah, I just know Philadelphia people in general. Remember, in football, they booed Santa Claus. So,
That's right.
You just got to watch those Philly fans. But anyway, so, yeah, I got the 76ers squeaking by in this series. So that's going to wrap up the Eastern Conference. We've made our choices there. I think let's sort of recap what we did. I think we both like the Heat. You like the Celtics. I like the Nets to move over to the second round. We both like the Bucks, and it seems like we both got Philly, right?
That's right.
Okay. Right. All right. Let's go ahead and move over to the Western Conference. And the first round matchup there, we have the number 1 seed, and thanks to the Pelicans winning last night, they solidified the 8th spot. So it's the Phoenix Suns versus the New Orleans Pelicans. And Dustin, the Pelicans, as much as they earned the victory last night, man, you talking about a short-lived celebration here because no one wants to play the Phoenix Suns, and no matter what conference you're in, this team, Monty Williams, just remarkable what they're doing to make the finals last year, and they were heavily favored to win, and I had the Bucks winning that series last year because they couldn't do nothing with Giannis. And now to come back and be better than you were last year, man, this team is just awesome, and they're going to sweep. I don't see how the Pelicans are going to win a game in this series.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you. We talked about the Pelicans being a good story and bouncing back, but you can tell that the Suns are on a mission after what happened last year and coming up short. And the way you come out and just handle, the regular season is a long regular season, and some guys just kind of skate through it to get to the playoffs. But you could tell the Suns were on a mission to get that top seed, be the best record in the NBA, because they want to get back to where they fell short last year. So I'm with you. This is going to be a quick series. I'll go with the sweep as well. I think the Suns have their eyes set on bigger things, and so they're not going to they're not going to play around in any games. They're going to sweep and move on. No,
it just it might be some. Not saying that it won't be some good competition because I don't want to see because the way Brandon Ingram played last night, and and the way he stood up and stood in for CJ, because CJ, it looked like the Clippers had an answer for CJ, but there's going to be some good games out of this series. But man, we know Phoenix is just red hot. Okay, this next series, oh my goodness, this next series, sort of like the 2-7 over in the East. This series here, the Memphis Grizzlies with the number 2 seed, the highest seed they have ever had in the playoffs in their franchise history. They're taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who earned that 7th spot there in the play-in game the other day. Dustin, I'll let you go first, man, because I smell an upset.
See, I'm going to be going the other way on this one, but I'll tell you what. To start off with this. First of all, Memphis Grizzlies are also a Valley Sports Southeast team, just like the Charlotte Hornets. So I get a good look at them a lot. And I'll tell you what, they are young, they are energetic. We know what Ja Morant can be, but they've got a lot of young guys on that team who are ready to play ball, and they just have it clicking. And I knew they were going to be good, but I didn't know they were going to be this good. And they just kind of found something, and they're ready to roll. And I'll tell you what, the Timberwolves are just a fun team to watch. Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, these Pat Beverly and his antics. Everybody hated on the Timberwolves and how they celebrated for winning the play-in game.
Oh my goodness!
But it's been a while. It's been a while since they've been there. They earned that. So I'm not going to get mad at how they celebrated. It's different levels. You talk about big markets. When you're a small market like Minnesota, you got to celebrate those accomplishments of finally getting back to the playoffs.
Dustin, it was more Patrick Beverly celebrating than anybody.
It was. And listen, it was against his old team in the Clippers.
Exactly.
So when you talk about first-round talent matchup as far as young talent, and you talk about Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo, I mean, it just goes on and on with young talent in this series. And you're right. It's going to be one of the more entertaining series to watch. But I'm disagreeing with you on one thing, Gene. I think the Grizzlies are also on a mission, and the way Ja Morant has been playing has been unbelievable. And I've got Memphis in 5 games.
Oh, wow. Ooh, we are on total opposite sides of the track here.
Yes, we are. I just think Memphis has it built a little better. I think the Timberwolves are building there. They're just not there yet. But the Grizzlies have arrived. If you get a top 2 seed in the West all year, you've done something right. And they won a lot of those games even without Ja Morant. I just think they have a better, full, complete team to get the job done.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from Memphis, man. It's just that I've seen this Minnesota Timberwolves team up and coming. Karl-Anthony Towns had an ugly game. He needed Anthony Edwards and all sort of supporting cast there to help get them in this 7th spot, or else they would have been playing last night. But I got to think he's going to come back and have a good game. As far as the battle of the big man, he should dominate in this series, and it just depends on how they're going to coach him and how they're going to coach this series. But, I could see, and if I'm predicting an upset, but it definitely has to go 7 games in order for that to happen, because Ja Morant can beat you on his own. Hell, this team can beat you without Ja Morant. They have proven that, and that's why I like this matchup. I like both teams, though. I love both of these teams because, man, the Timberwolves, they have just really been just getting better and better and better. Now, the one thing I don't like, and one thing I'm worried about, and the one reason why the Timberwolves can lose this series is because of Patrick Beverley. The one guy that can help them is the same guy that can hurt them. You just, his emotions, man, they just got to get under control. And I don't know if you saw the game the other night where I guess he was trying to get under the skin of one of the players while they were shooting free throws. And so he was able to get the double tech, but the referee actually changed the call when they went back and looked at the video to see what he initiated the ticky-tackness stuff. And it's just that type of stuff. So, it ended up costing his team a technical foul in the free throws. And it's just that kind of stuff. And, you can't really get too many more. I don't think he can get another technical foul. You know how it is. I don't know how many he has for the season, but, you get so many of those things or is it the flagrant? They suspend you.
If you get enough technicals, you get a 1-game suspension. I don't know how many he has, but what Patrick Beverley.
Yeah, I know he's got some because he gets tossed more than anybody that I've seen this year. But anyway, but his defense, man, oh my goodness, his defense and clutch shots sometimes. That's why he's the one that can help you and hurt you. So if he plays solid and has a good series, I like the upset in this one. But so Dustin's going to pick Memphis. I got the upset here in the Timberwolves.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. If Pat Beverley can do what he does and help slow down Morant, you're not going to stop him.
No,
you can slow him down. That's going to help. So that's why you say it's all on Pat Beverley to stay in the game and really rely on his defense to lock down Morant, but not get too overly excited, out of his mind. And so that'll be interesting to see. I just think Ja Morant has the athletic ability and the mental ability to overcome that. So I think he'll have a big series.
Get ready for some highlight films here in this series because there should be some good ones. Definitely. All right, the next series we have is the number 3 seed, and boy, they were lucky to hold on to this number 3 seed, the Golden State Warriors versus the Denver Nuggets and Aaron Gordon. How about that? So
there you go.
We got the 3 and the 6. And, this is another good matchup because Denver has been knocking on the door in the West for many years. And they either get that first round or that second round exit at the expense of another good team. Now, they're playing another good team here in the Golden State Warriors. Now, for a 3 seed here, not really bad when you look at the Warriors, without Klay Thompson over the last couple of years. But, man, they went out and got some hella draft picks there. And Jordan Poole and Gary Payton Jr. and all these other great guys. They got to be a 3 seed without Klay Thompson for most of the year and no Wiseman. And then for the last month or so, a couple of weeks, no Steph Curry. So they were lucky to hold on to that 3 seed. But I'm worried. I don't know. If Steph Curry is not 100% in this first round, that could be problems, Dustin.
It could be problems. He is listed as probable for game 1, so it sounds like he's going to be coming back. But like you said, that's the biggest thing with the Warriors is health. Can that big 3 of Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson play together? Because if they do, they obviously are one of the best teams in the league.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to rely on, if he's probable and ready to go for game 1, I'm going to rely on him being healthy. I'm going to go in with him being fairly healthy, and I'm going to take the Warriors. But I'll tell you what, it will be a tough series when you got a guy like Jokic. The Warriors don't have a lot of big guys to really help defend him. Draymond will probably be guarding him a lot, and some other people. But it's going to be interesting to watch. If the Nuggets were healthy and had a Jamal Murray or even had a Michael Porter Jr., this series would be even more interesting. So I think it's going to be a good series. I got it going about 6 games. But I kind of saw something with Steph out there towards the end of the year where it looks like Clay may be getting back to more of his normal self. He had a 41-point game the other night, and I just think they're going to be ready to go. And I think they've been waiting for all three of them to play together in the playoffs and be back on that championship mission. And I think they're going to get the job done in 6 games.
Yeah, because I got question marks here on my notes. I didn't pick any team for this segment here because I just I wanted to talk through this. And looking at, I tell you what, if Denver wins this game one today, then the Warriors are in trouble. Because
absolutely.
Yeah, then they still home court advantage, and I don't think they lose in Denver. So we have to just see it. This game one is so important because a probable Steph Curry is an advantage to the Denver Nuggets, in my opinion. But I want to say one thing too. Get your thoughts on this, man. Steve Kerr, how he's able to coach all of these talented players on his team is just remarkable. Because you got to know when to put in a Jordan Poole and when to put in a Looney and when to put in a Gary Payton, the third or the second or whatever, and Klay Thompson. It's just a remarkable because he's just got a talented young team, and the Warriors are back. And just think if Wiseman was even able to get on the court, man, the West, they could give the Phoenix Suns a run for the money.
Yeah, and I still think they have a chance to do that this year to give them a run for the money. But if they were all healthy, you're right. They'd be right there at the top of the league. You mentioned Jonathan Kuminga, who's one of their young guys. They've got some young guys, and I think you mentioned that name, Jordan Poole. I think he's going to be one of the biggest X factors. Because he, with Clay out, he turned into one of those kind of go-to guys to knock down shots. And we hadn't even mentioned Andrew Wiggins. I mean, so they've got. He was an all-star for the first time.
Hello.
That's why I'm saying I really think they're on a mission, Gene. And you talked about you hope they don't lose game one because they're not going to win in Denver. I don't think it matters for a team like Golden State as far as the road goes. I think with their championship experience with those three guys, they can go win anywhere. And obviously you don't want to lose game one because it will put you in trouble. But I think the Warriors are going to be able to steal some on the road as well, and that's why I got them winning in 6 games.
And this team is built for series, and Steve Kerr is built for the playoffs. He knows. So when you look at this, and
he's got the pulse of his team down. He knows each guy in and out and what makes them succeed.
And this is going to be a disadvantage for the Memphis Grizzlies and the Timberwolves, And this is why I don't know. I haven't looked at the full brackets there, but man, I could see, you got Golden State and Phoenix on the collision course there, and we can't count out these two teams we're getting ready to talk about here. Our last matchups here in the first round of the Western Conference there. We both like Golden State. I would go with Golden State to win over the Denver Nuggets in this series. The last one here, the number 4 seed Dallas Mavericks versus the number 5 seed Utah Jazz. Just like over in the East, man, the 4-5 matchup, it's just it just worked out for some reason. It just worked out according to just the way they're playing. Just like the 76ers and the Raptors, man. That's going to be a great 4-5 matchup. This is also going to be a great 4-5 matchup, but there will be no Luka Doncic in game one, which against a Utah Jazz team, that could be a problem.
That could be a big problem, Gene. And I'll tell you what, this is one of those ones where if going into the playoffs, if Luka was healthy, I think I would pick the Mavericks to be the team to maybe make some noise that nobody's talking about. Everybody talks about the Suns and everybody talks about the Warriors. Then they want to throw in the high-flying Grizzlies and stuff like that. I think the Mavericks are a team, if they had a healthy Luka, that they could make a run deep in this Western Conference. Like you said, they almost came up and stole that 3rd seed from the Golden State Warriors.
They were close.
They only lost about 1 game.
Yeah.
I've heard that Luka is out for this game. I've also heard that there's concern that he may miss game 2. And I heard that, this was regular season. We wouldn't even be talking about him playing anytime soon. But because it's the playoffs, he's trying to get through and push it. He's obviously not going to be 100%. It's a pretty significant calf strain from what I've heard. So that just changes my whole mind about this team. It's I was going to come in and picking the Mavericks for this series. But if we just don't know where where he's at. He is their offense. You know, I mean, I know they've got guys. They've got a Spencer Dinwiddie. They've got a Dylan,
and
they've
thank
got a
goodness
Jalen
they got
Brunson.
a Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah. They've got guys that can make shots. You know, Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith. They've got these guys who can create some offense, but this guy's who makes it go: rebounding, assisting, scoring. And so I don't know how to pick it, Gene, because if he can come back in game 2, I still think I would take the Mavs to win this series. But if he misses more than one game, I just don't see how they can win a series against a Jazz team who has experience with Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, and we know how their home crowd is.
And the six-man guy, Clarkson?
Yeah. Jordan Clarkson. They have probably the best fans in the NBA almost as far as home court advantage goes. So I'm going to have to do a caveat here. I think if Luka only misses this first game and can come back and be kind of at least 80% of Luka, I'll take the Mavs. But if he somehow misses more than one game in this series, I've got to go with Utah in that experience with Donovan Mitchell and Conley, Bogdanovich, Quinn Snyder, all those guys.
Yeah, I picked the Mavs, and then I sat up here and almost talked myself out of my pick because I didn't. You mentioned if he's out two games, and the Mavericks have the home court advantage, and to have him come off an injury. Let's just say they go down 0-2, and then he comes back, and, man, he's going to have to go full force to just get them the force of Game 7, in Dallas. But wow, that's just a big, Dinwiddie a step up, but, man, can he for 2 games? I don't know. This Utah Jazz team, and Utah, just like Denver, both of these teams have had high expectations in the playoffs over the last couple of years, and they both have gotten early round exits. And you got to think that, man, Quinn Snyder great coach there, and the Malone, great coach there in Denver. These guys got to be thinking, man, is it our year? Can we at least, get out of this first round, second round? Everyone knows Memphis and Phoenix, or Phoenix and Golden State and Memphis are your top 3 teams there. And, you got to get it done. You got the Joker, and you got Rudy, and you got Donovan, but I'm going to go with the Jazz because I just think the injuries are going to. Yeah. What'd you say, Dustin?
I think you talked me into the Jazz. Especially just because, like you said, even if Luka does come back, if they're down in the series, he may try to do too much, and he's not 100% because he's trying to force it. And I'm just thinking about the experience. Let's not forget the Jazz were the number 1 seed in the West last year. And I'm just thinking about Rudy Gobert. I'm thinking about Mike Conley, who's healthy, Donovan Mitchell, Bogdanovich, Jordan Clarkson. They've got the guys, they've got the depth, they've got the fans. So I'm gonna take them to get a win. It'll take, like you said, Luka coming back and being special Luka.
It would. It would. And if Dinwiddie can hold it down for a game and a half or 2, whatever, more power to them. If they can get 2 wins, in Dallas, then my pick would change. Although our listeners won't hear it, but because it would. But we're gonna see.
I think this first game's. All first games are massive. If you have home court advantage, you don't want to lose it.
You don't.
But I think this first game is massive because if the Mavs can somehow win it without Luka, then maybe they say, "Hey, we may even be able to rest him one more game."
Yeah, exactly.
But if you lose that first game at home, all the pressure is coming in for him to try to come back and play it not 100% because you do not want to go down 0-2 and go to Utah.
You don't, and because this Jazz team is good, and Quinn Snyder. It is Quinn Snyder, right?
It is Quinn Snyder.
Okay. I can butcher up some names, right? So he's also mentioned for the Lakers head coaching job.
I think from what I've heard from him, I've heard the Lakers, but I think where he possibly could end up going, he is a Greg Popovich disciple as far as the coaching tree.
Wow.
And it sounds like that he is the front runner for if Pop retires.
Perfect fit. I can see that. Yeah, because it's going to take a special person, and they won't just give that San Antonio job. If you're going to replace Pop, it's got to be someone good. So I could see, I can see that. Well, hey man, we got it down here. So recapping the West, we both like Phoenix. I got the T-Wolves in an upset. You're going to go with the Grizzlies. We both are going to go with the Warriors, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, and now. And we both are going to go with depending on this Luka thing here, we're gonna officially go with the Jazz to win this series. So, all right. Well, hey, 4 games today, 4 games tomorrow, 8. You know, I Dustin. So, did you told the wife you was going to be watching basketball, right?
Yeah, I told her a lot of basketball is going to be on. You know, it's obviously Easter weekend. We got to do some family stuff as well. But wherever we are, there's going to be some
basketball. Yes, and folks, hey, and speaking of Easter, happy Easter. Have a great one. Dustin, as always, is fun, man. We will come back for the second round. We'll get our second round picks there here, depending on how long these series go here. Some of them might end sooner, and some second rounds might start before others, but we'll see. It always kind of gets kind of shaky there when you go from first to second. But we will get our second round picks in there before they get too far ahead of us. But folks, hey, have a great weekend, and Dustin, we'll come back and do it again.
Hey, man, can't wait. Looking forward to playoff basketball and talking about it for the next couple months here.
All right, folks. It's the MeanGene Show here, powered by Podbean on iHeartRadio. And this was our NBA show. We'll come back and do it again for the second round of the NBA playoffs. Have a great day.